Tabate elithuba ndizibulisele kuni baphulaphuli. Let me take this time to greet you all, those who are connected with me. It is Monday today. It's not Wednesday, no Sunday for that matter, but it is Monday. It is a follow-up on that program that I outlined about 2 weeks ago, giving the 57 days of the life of Jesus, which 57 days is a kind of the summary of the life of Jesus and what his mission and accomplishment is all about in that 57 days. If you remember me very well, we spoke about the triumph entry of Jesus to Jerusalem, which we call Palm Sunday. And then we said that is what starts the ball rolling. If you read in the book of John chapter 11, which chapter 11 is the resurrection of Lazarus, coming back from the dead of Lazarus. That's chapter 11. And then when you get to verse 50, I would say, verse 45, 11:45, therefore many of the Jews who had come to visit Mary and had seen what Jesus did put their faith in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. Then the chief priests and Pharisees called a meeting of Sanhedrin. What are we accomplishing? They asked. Here is this man performing many miraculous signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him. And then the Romans will come and take away both our place and our nation. Then one of them, named Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, spoke up. You know nothing at all. You do not realize that it is better for you that one man die for the people than the whole world or nation to perish. He did not say this on his own, but as the high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the Jewish nation, and not only for that nation, but also for the scattered children of Israel, to bring them together and make them one. So from that day on, they plotted to take his life. They plotted to take his life. This entry of Jesus, it is the entry into that plot. He raised Lazarus from the dead, and by that action, he put himself on the plot for him to die. He exchanged life for death. He took upon himself bring Lazarus back in order to put himself on that platform of death. And this is why this Palm Sunday becomes of such importance. That's where we were yesterday. Shall we pray then as we start today? Bawe tuthandekayo isewe Nkosi yethu enguYesu khweni namhlanje kungomvulo emveni kwePalm Sunday. Sincede Thixo as we commemorate, sikhumbula ubomi bukaYesu ukungena kwakhe eJerusalem, neveki elandela oko ekhokhelela ukuba ade abe ngolosihlanu ulengwa engqamezweni. Sincede ke Thixo ngale nhlwa yanamhlanje, usikhuthaze, usomeleze, ukube kunye nathi, sivule ingqiqo nengqondo, sibubone ububanzi nokuphakama kwecebo lakho. Oku sikucela egameni lenkosi yethu Yesu Kristu. Amen. Today we will be looking at the withered fig tree. The withered fig tree. And the reason that we want to look at that, we want to look at that in a way that Mark reported it, which is different from the way the other gospel writers have reported it. And I find it to be quite fascinating, because this withered fig tree, and Jesus clears the temple or cleans the temple, the way Mark reports it, it's quite fascinating. But maybe for us, before we can even begin to understand that, there's something that I strongly feel that maybe we missed yesterday, which I feel is so important and so critical. Yesterday I mentioned that all the four Gospels, they do report on the entry of Jesus to Jerusalem. All the four Gospels, which is something very rare, that all Gospels, Synoptic and John, they report on this event. And I said the Synoptic Gospels, their emphasis is on the preparation of the entry, the getting of the donkey, the preparation of the donkey, throwing of the cloaks and the palm trees, branches and all of that. There's a lot of emphasis on that. However, when it comes to John, the emphasis is on the multitudes. He spends time specifically on the multitudes, the people that were present, and their different motives as they were seeing and welcoming Jesus to Jerusalem. There's something that I made there which was very important. I said, it's not just the entry of Jesus, it is the manner in which Jesus enters Jerusalem. And I said Jesus used to walk long distances. We have never heard Jesus riding anything. It was the first time that we are hearing Jesus riding the donkey. It's very, very important for us to understand that. Coming back to this thing of walking, there was a Jewish family. They were very, I would say, rich people, and they had a son, and the father complained to the mother that the son is not doing well at school at all, and also his room is very, very untidy, and himself, he is untidy. And they decided to take him out for lunch. They took him out for lunch to have a talk with him. And after a long discussion, this was brought to his attention, and he made a commitment. And the father complaining about his results, math, science, everything. He's performing very poorly. And the mother complained about untidiness in the room and everything that goes with it. And they made a commitment. And the son said to the father, he's going to improve. He makes a commitment to that. And that was fine. And then went back to school, everything went well, and he started to get his A's, B's, A's, doing exceptionally well, and teachers started to write letters to the parents. He is doing so well, he is so good, he is performing exceptionally well. And the mother, on the other hand, was so impressed. The room was so neat, so clean, everything in place. And the son called a meeting. Then he asked the parents, how am I doing? They took out the letters showing him, and the mother said, you are such a good boy. And the son said, and now, Dad, there's something that I would like you to do me a favor. And the father said, no, before you ask favors, I'm not done with you yet. You need really to do better than what you are doing. And the son said, what do I need to do? And then the father said, I want you to, your hair doesn't look good. You need to cut your hair so that you are neat. And this boy said to the father, but Dad, remember I'm a Jew. And Moses had a long hair. Samson was not even allowed to touch his hair. Long hair, and Jesus had a long hair, and all of that. And the father said, all of them, they've got only one thing in common. They walked. So this thing of yours, long hair, and being a Jew, and you want a car, they don't tie together. Let's leave that one at that. Let's come back to this entry before I get into this, because to me this is really important. And you'll understand why is it important. I said yesterday, the whole issue about the entry of Jesus revolves around the donkey. I said, Jesus could have been there, Jerusalem could have been there, the disciples could have been there, the crowds could have been there, the palm trees could have been there, the cloaks and everything other could be there. Without the donkey, there is no entry. Remember, this is not the first time Jesus entering Jerusalem. He has been in and out of Jerusalem many a times. But what gives significance to this event is the donkey. And can I tell you something? No donkey, no entry. And yesterday, we went into the book of the prophet Zechariah, chapter 9, verse 9, which is quoted in Matthew chapter 21. And we went also to Genesis chapter 49, from 10 to 11, and where it prophesied about this donkey. And in the book of Zechariah, it says, your daughter of Zion, your king is coming in humbleness and all of that, riding on a donkey. He's bringing salvation and and what have you. So the whole thing revolves around the donkey. And this donkey kind of defines who Jesus is. And this donkey gives Jesus an identity. It is this donkey that makes this event. Amen. You know, I want you to listen to me carefully. I'm sure if it was you that there is an event that revolves around you, that without you there can never be that event. Even the main player, who is Jesus, he can't move without you. You are a kingpin. I want you just to pause and put yourself in that space and think, what would be your attitude? You know why I'm saying that? I'm saying that people who have heard me preaching on this, I've said it many a times. It does fascinate me that the donkey xa kuphoswa ezangulo, la donkey ayizange ilale. She remained walking. Bekwingubo phezu kwayo, bekwingubo phambi kwayo, bekwamahlamvu. From what that donkey was, ukusukela ngoku yayibotshelelwe yakhululwa phaya, yafika apha, kwabekwingubo phezu kwayo, wakhwela uYesu, kwabekwingubo phambi kwayo, kwalahla amahlamvu. Nothing has changed about the attitude of that donkey. That donkey remained that donkey it was. She never allowed the event, the occasion, to get into its head and be a donkey that has never been seen in life, that has a very big head, even bigger than its body, that it calls for attention to people because this donkey is funny. We have never come across a donkey like this. Or something must have happened to this donkey because when it arrived, it was a normal donkey. Then all of a sudden, the donkey has become abnormal. The donkey was able to maintain its status quo. Do you know why I'm mentioning that? I'm mentioning that because we have a lesson to learn from this as human beings. Iyasonzakalisa, iyasilimaza, iyasichitha into yokuba uThixo in different situations and circumstances, hayi kuba yena uThixo exakiwe, kodwa akhethe uThixo enakho ukuyenza laa nto without you. Kodwa uThixo for that particular event akwenze ikingpin, and le nto irevolve around you, and le nto ingabi nako ukwenzeka ngaphandle kwakho. Uze wena laa nto uyivumele ingene kuwe, ikusebenze, ikulimaze, ube ne-wrong perception of who you are, and you begin to perceive people as inferior to you, and you become abusive, oppressive, and you use people as things. Then you begin to value things and use people. Ngaba bantu le ubava ke xa kuthethwa kuthiwa you're powerful bani. That's what I want to talk about now here. How powerful this donkey was. Amen. This donkey was a very powerful beast, because it had the power to be able to control that power and subdue it and remain a donkey. And yet, the situation and this opportunity presents itself for this donkey to be projected as an important and powerful and influential. As if this donkey now makes Jesus. Is that amen? See, that's the problem. Imibutho, I mean organizations, churches, sports organizations, cultural organizations, political organizations, ziphelile. Kawa pelile. Kawa. I mean the church finished. ANC finished. BAC finished. EFF finished. DA finished. DA gqityiwe Helen. When Helen became so powerful, and he began to believe in herself that she is the kingpin, and everything revolves around it. Unbelievable. This is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Hey, bakhulu abantu political organizations bakhulu. Bakhulu and powerful. Ubaba bethetha, powerful. And zona zigqityiwe by leadership. And this issue of corruption, you need to understand, in his perception, he is not corrupt. He has what he earns. He earns what he deserves. He deserves it by virtue of position. And he is in the position because he's powerful. He is powerful because he's the kingpin. He's the kingpin because nobody can do it better than him. But this donkey, I'm talking about the donkey. And my appeal to you, may you have this donkey mentality. Le donkey. The donkey. I'm preaching from P. Ebephethe lando umboko lawuphela umenjoli uJesu wami uyaphila yakho ikantoni ashumayela uve ngoba une keyboard pastor via unebani we have a prophet, we have an apostle, we have a bishop, we have a pope, and then all these scandals and stuff. You know, this thing somehow there's a lesson for us to learn from this Palm Sunday. And we learn this from the donkey. Not from anything else, just from the donkey. Just from the donkey. That donkey doesn't get excited. It takes attention. Akukho mzuzu la donkey evumela into yokuba la attention imke phambi Yesu. And the donkey is so aware and so convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is not about me. This is about the one who's riding on me. It's not about me. And he is who he is, with or without me as a donkey. That makes sense. That makes sense. So, and also, one of the reasons that a donkey was a better choice than the horse. A horse get excited. Eza lamahlamvu athi ihashe lalizhawu lidlove. You know. Let me tell you something about the donkey. You can Google that. It's a very focused animal. Doesn't get distracted. That is why a donkey ayifakwa eza apha ezindlebeni. Into efakwa la nto lihashi, because ihashi liyaphazamiseka yenye into liyibona ecaleni. Funeka lincedwe ke ngoku ukwenzela into yoba ke ngoku libe ne-blinds ukwenzela uba lingaboni kwenye indawo. Lona donkey aliyiboni enye indawo without i-blinds, because when the donkey has made up its mind of where it is going, that is where it is going, and nothing can distract it. And in this case, the instructor was riding the donkey, and the donkey was going where the instructor is pushing the donkey towards. Idonki ayina direction yona. Ithatha i-direction from kulo ukhweleyo. Xa ubuza la donki uyaphi, lithi uza kuphezulu wami. Ndiya kule ndawo lo aya kuyo. Nangoku ndize apha ngaye, nazi ndithunyi abantu bathi kuthiwe makuzothathwa mna. That's what you see, sometimes we accept Jesus, then we want to have an agenda, right? And tell Jesus what we are going to do. That's the thing. And then we're in the process, baninzi into ezivelayo. Ithani amapha into ezivelayo. Uba uyayazi apha into okuthiwa yimbuzane. Imbuzane iyazithanda isibane. Wasulayita isibane nje. Imbuzane ke ziyasithanda isibane. Cha imbuzane azothenga umbane okanye iparafini kanye candle. Zithanda nje light. Fela nomvundla buya driver. Light isibane ufika umvungu utsibe yo takataka apha ecamba moto uzakonzakala ile light. Iyasithanda isitha. Fika itakataka apha phambi kwelight, itakataka igilwe ife, but iyayithanda isitha. Iyasithanda isitha. Iyayithanda i-limelight, kubona banjalo abathanda i-limelight. He wants to take the show. I felt this thing is very important about the donkey. About the donkey. As a result, in Lando, we used to throw any donkey. There's no toy. You donkey, but you abuse you. And we used to tinning ayo. Wangathangane whatever you know akwetoyitoyi ayikhanqalazi ugqibile umsebenzi wayo wangalamini and umsebenzi wayo ongalamini qha finish and then ngoko akhona iphinde yathethwa yedonki akhona ebheje yedonki. Do you know that akhona ebheje khona iminqamlezo ile yintoni akhona inkonzo ene uniform ene badge yedonki. No. And idonki ayiba yenzanga lando yenzile lando. You see also kukhankanywa ngayo yonke yenzileyo akho need yalonto. You see akunidi ukhankanywa but yaziwa indima yedonki yaziwa indima yedonki. But I demand, akonto idimandayo. Njengomvundla, i-spotlight, yabona i-spotlight. No. Amen. Here now, I felt that this thing is very, very important. Ininzi into enokusinceda ukusindisa amabandla, ukusindisa imibutho, nokusindisa abantu aba uThixo abababalileyo ngalo mzuzu ukuba babe nenxaxheba ebalulekileyo abayidlalayo kwimeko ezahlukahlukeneyo zembali yesizwe. Iske ngoku olwababalo limonzakaliswe lo muntu wonzakaliswe ubabalo limonzakalisile. I don't know what to tell you right now. Lo muntu wonzakaliswe ubabalo wonzakele lo muntu wonzakele ulimele. Uyifana ngokheli xa ingene kwezingxaki zelidonki yadlalela kula light kakhulu yade yabhiliva kuyo uyive xa interviewa ke ngoku kubuza uba le nto uyenze njani kubuza uba yintoni erongo naloo nto. And people, they don't understand. When that person is asking that question, you must not hear the question. You must hear what he says about himself. It's not about yintoni erongo naloo nto, yintoni erongo loo nto xa yenziwe ndim. Because all of a sudden he becomes above law. He is above everything. The reason I'm saying that donkey remained a donkey. It never changed, that donkey. It remains a donkey. However, a donkey, it cannot be minimized what that donkey did. But it cannot be maximized what that donkey is. That donkey is a donkey. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? That donkey remains a donkey, an animal in the limits. There are certain things that it can do, there are certain things it cannot do. As much it has done this excellently at this particular time for reasons that are beyond our explanation, only God knows. But the donkey remains a donkey. Just remain who you are. Don't be a super human being. Super human being. Quickly, I felt that is important. In the next 15 minutes, allow me to get to this book of Mark in chapter 11, and it's amazing. Sifunde 11, sifunde 12, right? Jesus clears the temple. uYesu uxoxa itempile, right? Mamela ke ngoku. The next day, when they had come out from Bethany, Jesus was hungry. And seeing from afar a fig tree having leaves, wabona umthi wefiya, ewubona la mgama unamaqanda. He went to see if perhaps he would find something on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. Yayingelilo ixesha lesiqhamo samafiya. Ithi Ndumiso 1 enika isiqhamo ngexesha layo. Eva, when Jesus found no figs on the leaves, uthe uYesu akufumanisa into yokuba akukho siqhamo apha ngaphandle kwamagqabi, he cursed the fig tree, saying, wawuqalekisa umthi wathi, let no one eat fruit from you ever again. And his disciples heard it. Wawuqalekisa lo mthi abafundi bakhe. bayiva loo nto. Thani amen. Now, ukuba ngaba ke ngoku ke indlela lo muntu lena a reporta ngayo, nendlela a reporta ngayo 14 law. U15 uva ngoku isithi, so they came to Jerusalem. Then Jesus went into the temple and began to drive out those who brought and sold in the temple, and overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves. And he would not allow anyone to carry wares to the temple. 15 law. Xa efike eJerusalem, wangena etempileni, wafika apho kuthengiswa, wabo wabakhuphela ngaphandle, engavumeli into yokuba kuqhutywe ishishini apho. Watsho esithi, my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you have made it a den of robberies. The chief priests and the teachers of the law heard this and began looking for a way to kill him. Babefuna umbulala uYesu. They feared him. Babemoyika ngoba, because the whole crowd was amazed at his teaching. Abantu bebesemkholelwa kakhulu kuYesu kwizinto azifundisayo. When evening came, they went out of the city. In the morning, as they went along, they saw the fig tree withered from the roots. Ubuyela kulaa fig tree elithetha ngayo. Peter remembered, Petros wakhumbula, and said to Jesus, Rabbi, look, the fig tree you cursed has withered. Some who believe in the sinlessness of Jesus and in the inspiration of the New Testament text have come to the defense of our Lord and tried to explain this somewhat bizarre incident in terms of the growth cycle of figs. Bezama ukucacisa indlela amafiya nesizini zawo. Fig seasons occurs in the fall in Palestine. Akhula ngela xesha le fall. Yet in the spring, fig trees send out little knobs or buds called pagan, and then a growth of foliage follows. Hungry travelers from time to time pluck these pagans from the fig trees and eat them. Kunezinto ezincinane ayingomafiya. Abantu bayazitya, and even though they are not fully developed figs, they are eatable. Ezinto ziyatyeka. Some commentators say that these knobs should have been present when Jesus approached the fig tree, but since they were not, Jesus was angry. However, I don't think this is the answer. Ayiyompendulo leyo. Ntoni kanye into apha ayisenzeka? Eli xesha yayingelilo ixesha lamafiya. uYesu ke eyazi indaba yamafiya ePalestine. He saw a fig tree in full blossom and expected that mature figs would be present on it. Lonti gave an impression into yokuba unawo amafiya, ngoba amafiya, umuntu wamafiya uphuma amagqabi xa uneziqhamo. Waze uYesu weza kulo mthi with an expectation. Kanti this is a mirage. lo mthi awunayo lento uthembisa ukuba unayo. And the question, why did he curse it? Jesus, among other things, was a prophet. Phakathi kuYesu lo wayeyiwezizwe, uYesu wayenguprofethi. One of the most graphic forms of prophetic communication in the Old Testament was the object lesson. The note why object lesson, like umprofethi uAmos, umntathetha athathe into ya everyday asebenzise yona for ukuprofeta. Umprofethi uAmos wathatha i-plumb line si-spirit level and use it to communicate God's truth. Asebenzise yona ukuvakalisa inyaniso kaThixo. Apha uYesu finds an object. Le object asebenzise yona to illustrate the sin of hypocrisy. Ebonakalisa isono sohanahaniso. It had the appearance of fruitfulness, but it was actually barren. Throughout his earthly ministry, Jesus strongly denounced the sin of hypocrisy. uYesu uyisikondemile isono sohanahaniso. That was his basic critique of the Pharisees of his day. We funde londo uLuka chapter 12 verse 1. On several occasions, Jesus chastened the religious leaders for their show of spirituality and righteousness, despite their underlying lack of it. Inkokheli ezibonakalisa ubungcwele nokunyaniseka, kodwa xa beqwalaselwa kufumanisa into yokuba abanazo ezo mpawu. That should be a lesson to us. One of the top objections to Christianity that one evangelist ministry learned over many years is the supposition that the church is filled with hypocrites. Inkonzo igcwele ngabahamnisi. People who were watching the lives of church members, abantu baqala sebethina malunge bandla throughout the week, iveke yonke. But we are turning them off because they believe Christians did not live out their profession. We don't live out what we profess on Sunday. Admittedly, the church is full of sinners. Ndingoqala ukuvuma uba inkonzo igcwele ngaboni endingumkhulu kubo mna. In fact, I know of no other organization in the world that requires a person to be a sinner in order to join it. Awukho umbutho endiwaziyo othi i-qualification yokuba lilungu lalapha yinto yokuba ube nesono. Akuvumelekanga uba uyijoyine inkonzo xa ungena sono. Inkonzo yindawo yaboni. Uba ungumoni funeka uphume enkonzweni ngoba usendaweni erongo. Inkonzo yindawo yaboni. It's the only organization that your qualification to be a member of it, you must be a sinner. And you must know that I'm a sinner. However, while all hypocrites are sinners, but not all sinners are hypocrites. Hypocrisy is one of many sins. It is unfair of our critics to say so and so is a professing Christian we saw him sin during the week, therefore he is a hypocrite. That is not necessarily so. If I claim not to do something sinful, then you see me doing it. I am guilty of hypocrisy. But if you see me do something sinful that I never claimed I do not do, I am a sinner, but I am not a hypocrite. We need to draw that clear distinction. However, having said that, in defense of Christians who by their fallen nature continue to sin even after embracing the Savior, I still urge that we are all take care to avoid the sin of hypocrisy. Paul spoke about this when he said, the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles because of you. Roma 2:24. Unbelievers see us talking the talk and not walking the walk, and that should not be so amongst us. Akumelanga ukuba kube njalo. So, the fig tree, he is talking the talk. I've got the fruit. Uyafika ifruit ayikho. Lento iprojectayo ayiyo and ayiyo. But funny enough, somehow Mark injects his account of the cleansing of the temple between the cursing of the fig tree and the discovery of the withered tree the following day. Lamthi ukheswa namhlanje ayeke lokukheswa kwalamthi afaki ibaleli lokuklinwa kwelanto kwetempile then evele kolabali lokuklinwa kwala tempile abuyele kulamthi ukukhesiwe uwomile koro. That must tell you something about the temple. A misused temple. Mark described what happened in the temple. So they came to Jerusalem. Then Jesus went into the temple and began to drive out those who brought and sold in the temple and overturned the tables. So that's a story. When Jesus came into the temple, the house of God, on the morning after his triumphal entry, he was furious with what he found doing there. The sight provoked him to righteous indignation. Wanomsindo ongcwele ngoba njengoba ibona nje inkonzo ngaphandle inemingqamlezo inayo yonke lento lena xingela phakathi ayikho lanto lenkonzo iyiprojecta kuqhubeke enye into apha contrary just like lamthi yebo because you need to understand the Herodonian temple. Itempile was one of the wonders of the ancient world. It was one of the 7 wonders. It was a huge complex that was divided into 4 parts. The court of the Gentiles, the court of the women, the court of the Jews, and the Holy of the Holies. The court of the Gentiles was the largest part of the temple complex. The design of the temple included this place for Gentiles to congregate because God had called Abraham, the patriarch of the Jewish people, to be a blessing to all the nations. The people of Israel had mission of proclaiming the truth of God, not just to themselves, but to all people. The court of the Gentiles was on the outer edges of the temple complex, to be sure, but the Gentiles were still able to be present so that they might know and fear the Lord. Chapter 8, verse 43. However, the Jews who hated the Gentiles hoped that when the Messiah came, he would cleanse the temple of all Gentiles and get rid of them once and for all. Because acting on that disregard for the Gentiles, the Sadducees and the Sanhedrin basically had turned the court of the Gentiles into a stockyard for commercial purposes. Yabasi stock fair. kwathengiswa kulaa ndawo akhutshelwa ngaphandle i-Gentiles. Now listen to this. The sale of animals for sacrifice had come to be the most lucrative source of revenue for Sanhedrin. Into ayisenzeka pha ngexesha lepasika kwakuthengiswa about 225,000 lambs, because it would be better for umntu kunokuba asuke eKapa abheke eBhayi ethwele igusha aza kwenza ngalo idini apha, asike zapha eBhayi engenagusha nabasuke eTranskei bazithenga apha. So aba bantu baqhuba elashishini phaya etempileni kulaa ndawo bimele uba ine-Gentiles, yasuka laa ndawo yayisistokfela. Yile nto uYesu yamcacisayo ekota kwi-Isaiah 56 verse 7, indlu kabawo niyenza umqolomba wezihange. Mamela ko but xa ujonga ngaphandle kufuneka laa nto ukuze uyibone uba ngumqolomba wezihange, funeka ungene apha phakathi. But xa udlula ngendlela yitempile. That's hypocrite when you project what you are not. That's exactly what lo mthi ungayo. That is why uxelelwa kuqala ngomthi, iyekwe laa nto yamthi ishiywe injalo, uxelelwe ngetempile. Ibhityo le nto letempile ubuyele kulaa mthi, kuthiwa uPetros wakhumbula laa mthi. In fact wawubona laa mthi wome koro ulungele into yokuba ungene emlilweni. Le wenye inkonzo iredi for uba ingene emlilweni wesihoko, because inkonzo ayiyo laa nto iziprojekta iyo. That's hypocrisy. Sisono sokuhanahanisa. That is what that story is all about. It's quite interesting how it and then Mark writes it in order. The story of the fig tree interprets the story of the cleansing of the temple. Eli lilizwi likaThixo. How about you? Bawo eli lilizwi lakho linjengamadoda lewaka aqondisa indlela, usuko, imbeko, indini ikufanele.